We're live, guys.
Hey, awesome.
We're live and we're early. Cool. Okay,
Yeah.
let me just make sure that the people. Hey, guys, if you're watching, can you type in? Okay, here they come. If can you type in where you're from so we just know that you can hear us? So Chris and Don, if you look at the there should be a little chat box if you click on it,
Yep.
and you can see people start typing in.
Chat box, is that the Q&A thing?
It's just a chat box where they could ask us, yeah, any question they want, or they can communicate with us. They can't talk, but they could chat. They could type in anything.
Got it.
Cool.
All right, cool. So we're a little early. There's people trickling. Okay, there's going to be a little delay. Okay, we have one from France. Hey, guys, if you're just coming in now, type in where you're from. So let's do. Okay, so Chris, I know you don't need an introduction, but maybe what about what you're up to now, what you're focusing on this year? Just a little bit about. Oh, here we go. L.A., Denmark, London. Holy shit! Do you guys see all this? Mexico City.
I don't see anything.
They're pouring in.
Oh my gosh, they're pouring in. Oh, you don't see anything on the. Maybe Chris on the left. There's a. If you scroll over to the left, there's this thing will pop up. Nothing.
I'm looking. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out eventually.
I think it's to your right, Chris. There's a webinar jam box, yeah, and there's a little button that says chat.
Cool. Yeah, I clicked on it. I just don't see anything coming up. But that's okay. You guys can just let me know.
Yeah, they're all here. They're coming in. South Africa, Oklahoma. This is amazing. The Netherlands.
Cool.
Dubai.
Yeah. Everybody's flying out.
Ecuador. Man, this internet.
Yeah, Pennsylvania. Somebody from our hometown.
Nice. Okay, sorry, Chris.
No worries. Yeah, so I think right now, I'm retired, I guess you could say, from competition, and I'm focusing a lot more on trying to, I guess, help others through just the affiliate. I get to spend more time working out with my crew here. I get to spend more time trying to develop the gym, developing Icon Athlete, and helping athletes through that. They're a little bit more competitive oriented, which has been a real cool experience for me. And a lot of my goals now are just to stay healthy, honestly. Enjoy skiing with my kids and do CrossFit because I love it and not because I stress about it. So I've had like a pretty big shift in the past year on how I've approached my workouts, my training, really just to improve my lifestyle.
Are you doing the open with your community?
Yeah, definitely. It's funny. I was talking to some people, and I was like, this year might be the first year that I have to scale stuff because I want to make sure that I stay healthy. I'm trying to take care of my knees and make sure that they heal up and I feel better. And if I see something come up that I know is going to put me further back with some of the goals that I have outside of the gym, being healthy and be able to ski with my kids and stuff, I'll just do the scaled version, or I'll do a rep or two and then move on. As much of a blow to my ego as that will be, but that's all right.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, that's amazing because as an athlete, you're very self-actualized because like the open, I want to do it, but I had this inner conflict, and I'm in the masters category. Last year, I made it to the masters version of the regionals, and I've got all this pressure now, and man, I don't know how you make that transition. And I'm just a regular CrossFitter, but someone like you to go from that whole journey and then back to the open blocks and scaling workouts. That's man, I applaud you. That takes a lot of processing.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it hasn't been an easy process, and it's still daily. But I think it's I think once you set some goals, it's really helpful. And I think for me, it was just realizing your goals don't have to be very they don't have to be performance oriented. They can, and I think it should be, depending on what we want to achieve, because that's a huge part of us, progressing in the gym and doing well in the open or at regionals or the games. But I think there's this other piece that I know for me when I was competing, I would often set, like one of the goals that I always had was I just want to pour my heart out, and there's no tangible way to do that. So for me, that was really helpful to have that as a goal. And now some of my goals is like, hey, I want to be able to as silly as it sounds, I just want to be able to sit on a chairlift and ski with my kids and not be in pain.
Right. And this is why we're having this conversation. It's like this is the whole other side, and maybe it's 98% of CrossFitters, and we don't hear this kind of dialogue because everything is about the leaderboard and about how heavy you can lift and all that. So thank you guys for helping me spread this message, and I know Chris is passionate about this too. I think it's important, and I think it's also CrossFit has become, I don't know, maybe it's almost come full circle where I think people are now starting to have more of these conversations.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's probably the affiliates and the people that have been around a little bit longer than others. Because hey, let's face it, we're all, like anybody at CrossFit's, we're passionate about it, and that's great. I think it's easy to get really passionate, really quick about performance-oriented things. I think CrossFit attracts a Type A personality for the most part, which is cool because it's a really great outlet. The important thing is, I think, people setting realistic goals and then looking at kind of what time they're able to put into the gym and what they want to do, and then seeing, does the time that I have correlate to the goal that I want? And sometimes the answer is yes, and sometimes the answer is no. If someone's like, hey, I want to go to the CrossFit Games, but I'm only willing to train an hour a day, it's like, hey, you may not have the best goal. But other people might say, hey, I want to go to the CrossFit Games, and I'm willing to train between 4 and 6 hours a day. It's like, awesome. Let's make that happen.
Yeah. So Don, let's do a little intro about you, who you are, what you're doing, what you're passionate about.
Sure. So I run a website called mentalitywod.com, and really I'm just someone who's combined my passion for fitness and CrossFit with my passion for psychology. And I try to help people as best as I can through my website and also through one-on-one coaching reach their performance and fitness goals. So that's what I do. That's what I love, and I'm here to add to the conversation any way I can.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. So I'll just say a little bit about me, and then we'll get right into it. I'm a licensed marriage family therapist, also a CrossFitter, and I got really passionate about having conversations about what happens in between the ears and how it affects us, but more importantly, how we can use CrossFit to rewire ourselves, how we can use CrossFit to do things outside the box, so it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or whatever, or you're a mother or whatever you're doing. Obviously, CrossFit is very effective on the physical, but also like how can we change our belief system using CrossFit? I've always thought that you could tell one's character by you could tell so much about a person just by watching them work out, especially in CrossFit. And then if we could do that, if we could put a black light on their thought process, then can we use that as a tool? So I've always been fascinated about that, and so that's why I do these things, to create a dialogue and help people use CrossFit in other areas of their life. So let's, do you guys want to just get to the questions? There are questions that Chris came up with that I think many can relate to, and maybe from there we'll start asking questions from the people in the chat, and then I think we'll probably get bombarded with questions, but
yeah,
we'll have enough content for it to roll.
Cool.
You guys want to do that?
Yeah, for sure.
So the first question, the Open starts tomorrow. The first question is, how do I stop myself from getting so nervous?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I think for me, like as far as the competitor, that side of me thinks like, hey, one, if you guys have done the job of training, the work is done, right? So this time of year should be a time where you can enjoy putting your hard work to use. I know for me, when I would go to the games, there's a little bit of stress there, and that's a positive thing because I think it helps us perform. But for me, I was like always fired up because that's what I had worked so freaking hard for the year for, and now it was time to put that to use. So I tried to soak up those 5 days and really enjoy that, and I think we can apply that toward the Open. And even better, how much cooler, it's not 5 days, it's 5 weeks where you guys have to enjoy putting your fitness to the test, enjoying the community environment, regardless almost of the outcome, right? Because it allows us an opportunity to put our hard work to use. And I think there's some strategies to do that. But you know, kind of step one, I think, is just realizing that now is the time for us to put all our hard work to use.
Yeah, I love that. Don, any tips on how to stop myself from getting so nervous?
Yeah, I would, the first thing I recommend is don't focus your energy on trying to stop yourself from getting nervous, but instead embrace and accept that nerves are a good thing, like Chris said. Start to perceive them as part of what's getting you activated and excited for your workout. So putting a positive spin on your nerves and accepting them instead of trying to shut them away.
Yeah, I think most people, when they feel nervous or afraid, they try to white knuckle it, and it just amplifies that feeling. I like I call them the two R's. It's recognize and replace. And I think you have to recognize what's really going on. You can't build anything without truth, and you got to be honest. So if you're nervous, don't pretend like you're not nervous, So admit that you're nervous, and then replace. So like Chris was talking about, turning that dial to fun, and it's really hard to do, but I think that's kind of the focus. Is if you could make this a fun experience instead of stressful and nerve-wracking, that it's I think you'll also do better, of course.
I think with that, I think a great point is like identifying why we're nervous.
Great, yeah, absolutely.
Like totally straight. I get nervous in the open, right? I got more nervous in the open and probably more nervous in the open sometimes than at regionals. Way more nervous at regionals than I ever was at the games. And the reason why I get nervous, and the reason why I will be nervous this year, is basically two reasons. So like if we're real brutally honest, one, I don't like to see my name drop on the leaderboard. I don't like that because I worked really hard to earn what I did, and I'm in a different space in life right now, and my name is going to drop on the leaderboard. So part of it's like a pride thing, right? And letting go of that. And two, the other piece is like, I'm worried what other people are going to think about me. Like, oh my gosh, if I don't end up qualifying for regionals, if I don't, whatever, fill in the blank, if I don't end up beating my previous benchmark from last year, or if I don't end up in the top whatever placing, people are going to be like, hey, look at how much better I am than Chris now, or look at how far Chris has fallen. But all those are things that I can't control. So I think kind of what Don was saying as part of that, embracing that, is like, hey, what can I control? Really all I can control is my performance and my attitude going into it. And if we focus our things on things we can control, I think that's where that nervous energy becomes positive and less a drawback.
Yeah, and I think, you're talking about on a global level, but most people can relate to exactly what you're talking about, because inside every box, they have their Spealler, they have their people that are always, the top, and for those people that don't want to drop, they're comparing themselves constantly, and the open can really fall into that trap.
Yeah.
Thanks. Next question. What do I do if things aren't going the way I planned in the middle of the workout? Chris, has this happened to you?
I guess it's like, hey, when does it not happen to you?
Yeah.
I think one, I think as far as setting yourself up for success, having some structure to like how your week is going to lay out can be really important. I think that kind of goes back to the previous question. If you know you're going to give yourself 2 chances to do the workout, that might take a lot of stress off of you. If you know you only want to do it once, that might take stress off of you. So setting things up so you can create a little bit of a schedule, a weekly schedule for success is helpful. But then once you do that, going into a workout with a game plan, like look at it, evaluate it, and think about, hey, here are my strengths. Here's where I'm going to need to work. And looking at that in a positive way. Let's say it's let's say it's rowing and thrusters, like from last year. We all remember how hard that workout was, right? For me, rowing is not a strong point, right? But I also kind of like thrusters for some weird reason. So for me, I have to look at that workout and think about, okay, what kind of pace do I want to hold on the rower so that I can still be successful and hang with the guys that I want to? And then I can almost look at the thrusters as a break from the rower. For other people, that might be totally different. And then you can also look at like my rep schemes. I think that's a really huge deal. A great example of that is last year it was workout was 3 rounds, or no, I'm sorry, it was AMRAP, and I think it was 14 minutes. It was the 50 wall ball, 100 double unders and 7 muscle ups or something like that. People will look at that and be like, holy crap, I have to do 50 wall ball. It's like, no, you don't. I did a set of 10, and then a set of 15, and then a set of 10, and a set of 15, and I was done. And when you look at things like that and go into a workout with a game plan of being like, cool, I'm going to do 2 sets of 10 and 15, I think it breaks things up. You can compartmentalize the workout a lot easier, and then it's easier to adjust. You could say, you know what, I feel great. I'm going to try 25 and 25 on my next round. Or maybe you feel worse, and you're like, you know what, I need to go to 5 sets of 10. But having some kind of game plan going into a workout is really important. And then the other piece of that, I think, is being able to change it. Understanding that if it's going wrong, it doesn't mean that you are performing poorly. Maybe it just wasn't the right game plan for you.
Yeah, those are great. Do you, Chris, so when you have to change and you have to pivot, does that discourage you, or do you not even think about it? You just pivot and go?
There are times where it definitely does discourage me, but I think when we have some positive self-talk and a really short, like what we call it at the competitors course, or some of the other things we've talked about is like a quick little mantra. It could be just something really short. And I know for me, one of those things that I used to say to myself and still do sometimes is just, it's there. It's there. And when I say it's there, I mean my fitness and my recovery. So if I have to change my game plan or my strategy, I can just say it's there, and then start to trust that it is there and that I will recover from how difficult this is. And I often say, like, we've got this. Instead of I often say we've got this, because then it makes me feel like I'm not alone.
Nice.
And those are little things that are helpful to, I think, help you when you do pivot and still have a positive outlook on the rest of the workout.
Someone just wrote, I like that point Chris made, that it doesn't mean something is going wrong, it just means that the rep scheme wasn't correct for me. I love the idea of mantras. That's kind of what gets you to stop the, your pseudo self. It's what gets you to stop the other voice that is trying to tell you to stop. So I think that's extremely helpful. Don, what about you? Any thoughts on what do I do if things aren't going my way? I planned in the middle of a workout.
Yeah, the quick answer is you adapt and keep going. But along with what Chris said, something as quick saying to yourself just the word adapt. The more adaptable you are in CrossFit, the better you are in CrossFit. And oftentimes that skill of learning to adapt when something isn't going how you want it to is more important to practice than any other skill.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think the mental game is all about mental toughness, and I think more important than mental toughness is mental flexibility.
Yes, agreed.
Because if you're just mentally tough and you're just trying to push through everything, but you're not flexible and things don't go right, that's going to cause a mental block right away.
Right.
And I think in another way, like, that is mental toughness. Is like,
yeah.
And I think that's an athlete that's really in tune with themselves, but you have to let yourself go through that process to say, like, hey, this pace is just too fast for me. And maybe someone else is going faster. Maybe someone next to me is going faster, but to be able to say, you know what, this is too much for me right now, and I need to rein this back in a little bit so that I have more left in the tank. And in a positive sense, maybe I'll catch up to them, or maybe I'll perform better on this exercise or this movement, or I know I'm a strong finisher, so I need to pace myself well here. A lot of times I just think about, like, how I feel during the workout. I know for me, if I feel like this, I don't know if this is everybody else, but for me, if I feel like I can taste almost something like a nasty taste in the back of your throat, and if I feel my arms start to get heavy, it like works down my arms and into my hands. If I feel my arms start to get heavy, like into my elbows, I'm going way too fast here. We need to rein it back in. Because once that hits, it's really hard to recover from. But if we can find that balance of, like, learning our bodies and understanding how far we can push and where that line is, and getting comfortable being uncomfortable, and understanding that we're okay in that place, I think those are really important pieces for people to evaluate as an athlete. And what's cool is I believe that's just a continual assessment as we work out. And I think that's kind of, it's going to sound maybe nerdy, but I think that's kind of like the art of CrossFit, or the art of being an athlete, is being able to assess ourselves and make the adjustments continually throughout a short, medium, long workout.
Sure, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I want to, because we're getting bombarded with questions, and I want to make sure we get to at least some of these. Moses said, okay, well, okay, this question is it a good idea to rest from now until you attempt the open WOD, or should I just be training more? So the open WOD is what, tomorrow or Friday?
Thursday, yeah.
Do we
Thursday.
just stop rest and we just rest from now this week, or do we just keep training and go into the open?
Yeah, so that's a really individualized approach. Unfortunately, the best way to do that is to practice that and know like ahead of time, hey, I like lots of rest. I don't. Most people that I know perform better with not complete rest, but lower volume with still a little bit of a dose of intensity. So a great example of that might be like I would take today off, maybe do some active mobility, row a little bit, whatever, active rest, and then tomorrow I might do a workout that's maybe something like an every minute on the minute where we're alternating, where I keep the volume really low, but it also allows me to get my heart rate up. I think all of us can relate to if you go on vacation and you just kind of sit around for a week and come back to the gym, you probably feel pretty stale. Yeah. So I think it's a good idea to feel rested and recovered going into the open workout, but also making sure that you guys kind of still have the engine idle. Think of it like that.
I like that.
Right, and keeping your training weeks or the weeks that you do the open as similar to your training weeks have been the past couple months, and not trying to, if you only work out twice a week, okay, maybe keep that as similar as that has been, maybe with an additional day. If you're used to training 6 days a week, try to keep that going so that your body feels as comfortable with the open workouts as it would in any other training week.
What about also the idea of getting outside the box for a day or two?
Yes.
I don't know if that would help or hurt. Going for a hike or doing something kind of semi-active, but getting out of the box and the pressure cooker that's happening right now inside the box.
Yeah, I know. Don just said yes, and I was like pretty emphatic with yeah, and I agree. I think I know stuff that I used to do before regionals, especially like once they got to where a lot of the athletes would work out in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
The individual, so we knew that we'd have the morning kind of off, and I was fortunate enough to be local, so I could just drive down there. But I would go for like a long walk in the morning. I'd just take the dogs for a walk and use it as a time to either, one, just clear my head, or two, go through the workout mentally, kind of visualize the things that I wanted to do, the rep schemes that I would do, visualize myself doing well, or maybe standing on the top of the podium, whatever. And I think being outside of the gym is real key to you feeling motivated in the gym.
Yeah, I like that. I think it also depends where you live. I live in Los Angeles, so we just have concrete. That's not much we can do. Okay, another question, and this is we're killing two birds here because it's one of the questions we're going to ask. Matt asks, do you think that? Oh wait, no. Okay, Moses asks, how do you strategize an open WOD differently so that it's worth repeating again? So the reason why he asks, he says that he's repeated open WODs but has only gotten 1 or 2 reps more. So the question is, this idea of repeating WODs and how do you re-strategize them so they're worth repeating, or do you re-strategize? Do you do the same thing?
Yeah, I think if you again kind of assess, right? Take a look at what you did. I'm trying to think of a good example. Okay, I think in 2014 it was row 60 calories, 50 toes to bar, 40 wall ball, 30 power cleans at 135, and 15 muscle ups. I think. So let's say you just go into that with no game plan at all, and you row hard. You get the row done in 3 minutes, and then you go to the toes to bar and you try to do a set of 20, and then you start to feel yourself kind of blow up, and you have to take that down to singles, and then the wall ball get broken up into 4 sets of 10. If that happens, I would definitely take a look at doing it again, and how do you re-strategize that? An example for that would be, hey, instead of rowing my 60 calories in 3 minutes, I'm going to row that in 3.5 minutes. I'm going to do my toes to bar in sets of 5 with a 3-second break between each set. I'm going to do my wall ball in 2 sets of 20. I'm going to do my power cleans in singles. That's, again, very individualized depending on where an athlete's strengths and weaknesses are. But if you guys find yourself in a hiccup where you're not able to stay consistent moving through the workout, I would definitely look again at another strategy. And usually that's because people bite off more than they can chew in the beginning instead of breaking things up earlier on.
Hmm.
Right, I agree with the re-strategizing and sitting down with a coach or a training partner who knows you really well to analyze your videos is an important part of that versus just saying I'm going to try it again and do the best I can again. But sitting down, like Chris was saying, with somebody who really understands and knows you well so that you can actually plan, and take a look at how the timing of your rounds, the timing of your rest, and see if you can play with, if there's periods during that workout you're taking 10 seconds rest, see if you can play with, like he said, holding yourself to 2 or 3 seconds rest, but maybe implementing more of them throughout the workout. So strategizing with a coach is an important part of that, and analyzing your video in a way that you can come up with a plan that's different than the first time you did it.
Yeah, and everyone's like recording things on their phones now, so you could just
helpful, yeah.
Yeah. Next question. How do I handle the stress of having someone judge, or if I get a no rep? The concert open is when you start making enemies with the friends in your box.
Yeah. Best piece of advice is have short-term memory loss, brother. Yeah, you can't. It's so easy to get derailed. It is so easy to get derailed. One of the things that you guys can do is train them. Be legitimate with yourself. Like when you're working out, there are times when I would work out when I was training for the games that I would give myself no reps because I knew that if I kept moving, the workout would be harder. There are also other times where I would no rep myself because I knew the rep wouldn't count and I needed to be able to readjust that. There are times in wrestling when I would train and I'd have my coaches ref and they would intentionally not give me points on a good call so I could learn how to react on that. And the best thing I think we can do is understand that there's nothing we can do about that very moment. That moment has now passed. And it may have been a half a second, but that moment is in the past and there's nothing I can do to control that. All I can do is focus on the exact moment I'm in now, and that could be the bottom of your squat on the next wall ball. You can't think about the previous no rep.
It's very telling of one's sportsmanship when you start getting no reps. Right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Weston asked, in terms of diet and macro breakdown, how do you prep for competition during the week leading up to comp day? And is that different than the hours leading up to comp time?
Man, again, it's super individualized, and those are things that need to be played with and practiced beforehand. So I hope this information isn't a little bit too late, but I know a lot of athletes where they would, let's say that there's an event in June that you guys are really focused on, and it's a local event, it's a garage event, and you should choose maybe the open and another event before that so that you can play with nutrition and see how that affects you and see what you're comfortable with. Having said that, since the open's right here, I would take a similar approach to what Vaughn said, is, hey, you don't want to change too much right now, so whatever you have been doing, I would encourage you to do that all the way through the open, because if you start to tweak things a lot now, you might find that it's a poor result.
Okay, great. Dawn, anything?
Yeah, absolutely. I just agree with what Chris was saying about, keeping your macros and your nutrition as consistent as you can from what you've been doing in the past few months or past at least month in your training. And most of these open workouts are similar to any workout that you would be doing in your box any other day of the week. And so nothing special needs to be done for them. In the same way that you're preparing yourself for any other workout, you could be preparing yourself for the open workout.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think it goes with like these supplements. Sometimes you're like, wow, should I have caffeine beforehand? It's like, no, bro. If you haven't had caffeine up until now, don't start doing it now.
Victor asks, what can I do to prevent from falling apart when you're unable to complete the next rep? For example, a rope climb or handstand push-up. I feel like sometimes when you miss a rep, you can feel your goal slipping away, and it gets really hard to keep going. We see it all the time in the competitions. So he's talking about like mentally.
Yeah.
When you hit fatigue.
That's a great point, man. And I think one of the things that I used to think about is kind of what I got back to is like, hey, all I have is this very moment. right? And anything that has happened, whether it was a half a second ago or a week ago, is just a thought.
Mm.
Anything that hasn't happened yet, the next rope climb or the next clean or whatever, is just a thought. And I have no control over this, but I do have control over like the right here and right now. So if you feel like a goal is slipping away, I think you need to take a step back, even if it takes 3 or 4 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever. Like, hey, that moment, that right there, that last rep doesn't define what's going to happen in my next rep. That experience doesn't define what is about to happen, and I can change my attitude right then and there, and I can walk into that bar or that room and be like, I'm going to crush this. And I think that's where we need to have that positive mantra. We can say to ourselves, it's there. I've earned this. I deserve this. I've worked hard for this. Whatever that is, to reset. Because I think when we see our goals slip away is when a negative thought comes in. And if a negative thought comes in, that's going to start to override kind of that thought process. And that's where what John was talking about, we need to make sure that we have like a rewiring.
Yeah. You know what, Chris? What you're talking about is the big wellness buzzword right now, which is mindfulness. You're talking about being present. You're talking about letting go of thoughts and what's happening in the here and now. And I think that's the greatest door into your potential, into tapping into things like flow state. Fighting that inner critic. So I think those are all, obviously they work for you. I think they're great. Josh asks, what is your advice for approaching expectations in the open?
So approaching expectations.
This goes to our other question that you wrote, Chris, which is, if my score on a repeat workout is worse than last year. So like comparing your last year's performance with this, all that stuff.
Yeah, those are stressful, right?
Yeah.
To that stuff, everyone does. Like, oh my gosh, it's the repeat. I hope I beat the score because I worked so hard to be more fit. I think one, kind of letting go again and realizing, especially in the open, any competition really, is that there are so many freaking variables that go into your one performance and how well you do that it's really hard to pinpoint why you may or may not see an improvement, especially if you guys are kind of getting more toward that like higher level and the gains are harder to see and it's harder to make. How much sleep did I get last night? What is my mood? How hydrated I am? What's my nutrition been like the past couple days? I mean, there are so many variables that can go into like a real outstanding performance that may or may not be present in the past one. So you got to kind of let go in that sense. For those of you guys that are maybe kind of more on the beginning side of the curve, chances are you're probably going to see a really big improvement.
Yeah.
Busted. Like, that's a cool thing. For me, maybe not.
Yeah. Don, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would just say be very clear before you even start this with what you want to happen, and for each goal that you have, why you want that specific goal. And some of those may be outcome-based or performance-based goals, like you want to place a certain position in the open. But then after you write out your goals and why you want them, you've got to come back to focusing on the now and the process, like Chris was talking about, and just getting yourself each day wrapped around what can I do and what am I able to do, and a sense of gratitude for knowing how capable you are.
Mm-hmm. I have this thing that I wrote down here. I want to get some of this stuff. The 3 C's, and it's this is kind of a blanket statement, but it's a tip: composure, confidence, and concentration. And working on those 3 C's. So under composure, effort to be ready, managing your emotions, right? Like Chris says, the things that you have control over, attitude, breathing, relaxation, and it's not about losing intensity. And then, so that's composure. Confidence, like Chris said, positive self-talk, mantras. There's an upside down you where I think if you're overly confident, then it actually becomes negative. And if you're not confident enough, so there's like this spectrum, but kind of being in that top where you're not overly confident, but you're confident enough and certain to get stuff done. A big one is knowing your why. You know, going back to your whys. And I always tell people this, tying it back to your story. For me, there's a lot of emotional traction there. And the last C is concentration. Like what Chris says, what you can control and you can't, and you cannot control. What you can and cannot control. Distractions, internal and external distractions, inside the box, outside the box, past events, over-analyzing. And I think a big one is don't focus on other people. So the 3 C's, composure, confidence, and concentration, might be something good to focus on as we go into the open. Any thoughts on that?
I like it.
Yeah, I think it gets back to, again, a kind of identifying like why.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
why are you doing the open? You know, are you doing the open just to see where you stack up on the leaderboard, which is fine, that's cool, right?
Yeah.
Are you doing the open to be a part of the community? Are you doing an open to test yourself and see if you've improved? If you look at it like that, part of what'll give you composure is, hey, guess what? If you're looking to see if you've improved, you need to look at your scores relative to last year, you know, personally. If 400,000 people compete in the open versus 200,000, the leaderboard may not be that accurate in telling you if you have improved. If 1 million people do the open, you may not do as well as when 100 people did the open, but you could still be improving as an athlete personally, and that's where I think a lot of people get tripped up on the leaderboard and leaderboarding. The reality is, the more people that do it, it just gets compoundingly more difficult to be at the top, but it doesn't mean you're not better. Even though your place might be lower, it doesn't mean that your fitness isn't better.
Right, right. I think we all get caught up in comparing ourselves to other people and people we know around us. The quote-unquote beasts of our box, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Matt asked, hey guys, in most of my conversations about mental toughness, I've found that people think that to a certain extent mental toughness is something you either have or don't have. It would be a good time to finally get an expert opinion on that matter. What do you guys think about that? Is mental toughness something that, you know, like you're born with and not born with? Or is it something that you can grow?
I think it's learned.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess I say that because like I started wrestling when I was 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah.
Wrestling's hard. Like it's really hard, and I wrestled all the way through college, and in a lot of ways it's more mentally tough than CrossFit ever was for me. That was way more mental wrestling than I ever did with CrossFit. But I think that's learned over really kind of like a lifetime. I just think it takes a while to get. And I do think, just from having no experience and just evaluating people, I do think the older you get, the harder it is to learn that just because you have less time under your belt to have experiences and learn how to deal with it.
Yeah. Don, what do you think? Is mental toughness, is that learned or something we're born with?
Well, I think the first thing that's important to do is to define what is mental toughness and what does that mean to you specifically. There's a lot of opinions out there on mental toughness, but I think what most people are getting at is the ability to continue pushing when things get hard. That's a general thought, but I would also encourage people to keep pushing when things get hard in a healthy way. And what I mean by that is physically and mentally making sure that you're not just pushing to push, you're pushing in a way that's actually helping you have a better quality of life. And sometimes that means pulling back. That's mental strength to me. Sometimes that means letting go. Sometimes that means speaking up when you need some help and things like that. So it's a bigger thing than just pushing hard. But I do believe that we can continue to learn and improve that skill as we go through different situations in training and life. And CrossFit's cool because it exposes us to that on a daily.
Have you guys heard about the 40% rule? I think it's, I don't know if it's Navy SEALs or I heard this somewhere. I don't know if this is a dangerous statement or not, is that when your mind tells you to stop and everything, you're shutting down mentally, you're only at about 40-50% of what your body can do.
I've heard of things like that for sure.
And I mean, I don't know if it's dangerous to follow things like that, but I don't know. That kind of stuff works for some people. It's a lot of just grit and for some people it's scary for them, dangerous.
Yeah, and I think you can still tap into that when you think about more along the lines of like, hey, like why am I pushing, right? So kind of like Don said, like there was a time where I pushed through workouts because I wanted to win. That's why I pushed. Like that's why I wanted to win the CrossFit Games. So it's like, well, I'm just not going to stop. And now there are times when I'm in the gym and I'm like, I need to rein it back, kind of like Don said, because I know if I do this today, just because I can do something doesn't mean I should do something. Having said that, like a word of encouragement to you guys that are going into the open, now is kind of the time to do the stuff where you push to where you wouldn't normally push. You don't have to do that every single day where you see the white light, you fall on your back and you're doing the bacon sizzle rolling around for 10 minutes. But now's the time of year where if you're ever going to do it, now's the time to do it and embrace it. Like, enjoy it. Learn how to enjoy it and look back. Because how many times have you ever done that and regretted doing it? Never.
Yeah.
Right? Doing it, you're like, oh my gosh, this is still hard. But when you're done, it's because I think what makes people satisfied or happy that they did that is because they leave with no regrets. Otherwise, if we don't push as hard as we can, then it's like, well, I wonder if I could have. What if? I should have. What if? And if you're walking away from a workout saying what if as far as your effort, not necessarily strategy, but effort, then I'd probably encourage you to go harder unless you just have different goals in the open. And that's okay.
Right. Let's do a couple more questions from this time. Jack asked, how do you approach a workout with a part of mindset when you have a bad experience or something similar, like a workout or a movement you're not good at?
Yeah, I think we all have things. For me, like right as John's reading that, I'm like, dear Lord, I hope 225 power cleans don't come up. We all have things that like trigger. We're starting to think of already, like, oh my gosh, I hope chest to bar pull-ups don't come up. I hope this doesn't come up. When really, like, I think we need to take a step back and realize, what am I worried about? Like, I'm worried about a number on a bar. What's so magical about 225? Nothing. Nothing. It's like I attack it or I don't. And it's just a number, really, that makes me worried. It's just a movement that makes me worried about it. So a couple things that can help, I think, are kind of breaking down your reps, being a real challenge. To give you guys an example of that, in 2012, when I was at regionals, we had to do a workout as row 2K, 50 pistols, and 30 hang power cleans at 225, which is like, that's no joke for me. The first time I tried 30 hang power cleans, I tried to do all fives. And I blew up, and it took me about 6.5 minutes. The next time I did it, even though I was still intimidated by the movement, I did 3, 3, 3, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 2, which got me to 25, and then 5 singles. And I did it in 3.5 minutes. And the reason why is because I took what was overwhelming and I broke it down and I compartmentalized it into smaller sets. Mm-hmm. And then it allows us to think about these achievable chunks instead of how do I get all this work done with this movement that I'm not comfortable with. So I encourage you guys with the movements that do challenge you, don't be afraid to break them up into smaller chunks earlier on in the workout, and I think you'll be better for it.
Yeah, I think that's huge, especially like these chippers and stuff like that where they seem overwhelming.
And two, like, maybe Don, you can speak a little bit to this too, but I think like it sounds really silly. It might sound cheesy, but like your body like position when you're working out, I think can mess with your mind, right? So like when you're done doing something that's difficult, stand tall, stand up and be like, say to yourself, like, I'm hungry, I want this. Don't put your hands on your knees, don't take a knee, don't like put your head down and start to doubt. Those things, like our body positioning, can affect how we attack just the next rep. So try to have a positive mental attitude and then match that. Maybe it's cheesy, but match that with like what your posture's like. So I used to try to stand up after doing things like that and be like, hey, I'll put my hands on my hips, but like I'm hungry, I want this thing, even though it's hard, right? I want this thing.
Yeah, and just how you look at a workout and how you frame those challenges is really the key. Because if you look at that and say, those muscle-ups are going to suck. I hate them. I failed on them last time. This is terrible workout for me. You're setting yourself up for even a tougher workout. But if you can look at that and understand that working on your muscle-ups, working on something that is challenging for you is how you get better, then you actually can look forward to struggling. You can look forward to the challenge and actually prime yourself to say, that fight is how I'm going to get better. I can't wait to work on it. Look at this opportunity I have in front of me. And then also plan, what are you going to be telling yourself? What are your actions, like Chris was saying, with your body language? And then what is your self-talk going to be when you do hit a point in the workout where you struggle? And know that going into it, you're going to say to yourself automatically, the struggle is where I get better. This is when I get better. This is my opportunity. Then you're going to set yourself up for a much better workout, knowing that you're going to face some type of discomfort, challenge, or struggle.
Yeah, I love that idea about posture, which is very different than posturing. We don't want people to posture that way, but it goes under one of my C's, composure, that when you're done, to stand up tall, and because you're telling yourself something. You're always telling yourself something, and I think posture and body language is a huge way to communicate that we don't think about. Most of us just fall to the ground in fetal position, and we're done, But changing that is where the stretch is, and we could actually, talk about rewiring. I think posture is really, I think it's big. Eric asks, Chris, you're a family man. Elaborate on family and being competitive. Schedule any night workouts, etc. Oh man, Chris, your sound's gone. Oh, shit.
Yeah, it is. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't know. Google just, man, it looks like our time's going to be up. I don't know what's wrong. Oh, he's coming back.
John, do you mind if I put a link here to the Build Mental Strength ebook I have on the chat box?
Put it in.
Got me?
Yeah, there we go. You're back.
Okay, cool.
I hear you now.
Okay, so kind of the question on the family type thing, right? So my lifestyle is way different now. I just work out with the affiliate. I just work out with my class. I work out an hour a day. So I do that literally because in 15 minutes I'm going to go ski with my daughter for 3 hours. I told her I was going to ski with her. I'm going to do that. But having said that, man, when I was in that place where I was training 4 to 6 hours a day, I was traveling almost every weekend for HQ. I was training. I was working at the gym. There's a lot, man. There's a lot there. And I think one of the things you have to realize is that your time, although you might spend more time doing one thing than something else, it doesn't necessarily mean that takes priority over the other. So an example is training a ton of money. My family is still my first priority. And what made them the priority was if my wife said, hey, I need you home. You need to come home to be with the kids and she shoot me straight. I'll be like, cool, I'm done. I'm coming. That didn't happen a lot. But that's what allows you, I think, to make sacrifices with time, is that whatever is the first priority of your faith or family or whatever, you're willing to drop whatever you're doing immediately to go spend time and invest in whatever else that is. So that was a helpful process for me to go through because it's not even. Let's be honest, it's not fair. It's a really difficult place because I think it's really hard to find balance, especially when you're trying to be the very best at something. I think there's an element of unbalance.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for that. I want to be sensitive to your guys' time, so we're almost coming up on an hour. Anything else that you guys want to say tips-wise before we end? I want to mention that Chris and I did a video course, so if you guys want to go deeper on any of this stuff, plus we talk about life and balance, we talk about the WOD strategy and all that, I will email you guys the link to that, and we're going to keep the price very low for the Open. And I just want to say that I think for this Open, to make it about you. So whatever that looks like, whatever your why is, I think a lot of times we get caught up in things that are outside of self. So we're doing it for, you know, our perception of what people think about us, competing with other people, you know, other people, trying to match people or beat them on the leaderboard. And that's okay if that's your reason, but make this about you and give that to yourself. That would be my my one sentence for the Open. What about you guys? Anything?
I would just continue to say, be grateful for the opportunity, whether it's to push yourself, to compete with the gifts that you have, to surround yourself with some awesome members of the community. But take the time, even daily, in your morning routine or before your workouts, to be grateful for the opportunities that you have, which are, you know, specific to you and your situation. But remind yourself of all the blessings and gifts that you are capable of.
Nice. Thank you. Chris?
Yeah, and I think I take it back to the why. First, identify why you want to do the Open. And for some of you out there, if it's because you want to go to regionals, it's time to show up. It's not time to mess around. It's time to show up. It's time to slow down, create structure, create schedule, so that you guys set yourself up for success and so that you go. And when you walk into the Open, you say, I will get to the game, whatever that is. You better go in ready to show up. For others of you, if that's not your goal, figure out why. Why am I doing the Open? For me personally, I'm doing the Open because I want to be part of the community. I want to motivate and inspire people in my gym to do the Open and show them that it's okay to be a little bit of stress. You've been at the top levels, but I'm healthier because I have a better lifestyle outside of the gym now. That's my goal for the Open. So I'm not as worried about a plate, right? For others of you, that might be, you know what? I want to go in here and get 1% better every day. And just like Dawn said, maybe the struggle for you is the mental side of things. And maybe you get better mentally as you approach workouts. Maybe it is a movement and you get better at that. How many times have you guys gone into the Open and done something you never thought possible before? So enjoy the process, no matter where we are. Enjoy the process, right? This is why we do what we do. It's a really beautiful time of year to support those around you and to, like John, focus on you as well. So have fun. Go up and have fun.
Awesome. Wise words. Thank you, Chris. Guys, have an awesome Tuesday, and thank you for your time. And I'm sure we'll get some emails and stuff about the Open. You guys, if you're watching this, you guys can contact us, and we'll continue to try to support you as best as we can.
Awesome, guys. Good
Thanks for setting it up, John. Good
Thanks,
to see you,
guys.
Chris. Take care, guys.
Yeah, see you guys.